Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. And go ahead and get your notes out. We are going to be looking at lesson 9.9 today. Make sure you get the date on your notes and turn to your bell ringers, and here they are for the day. So today, just have 2 volunteers go to the board, please, and complete each problem. Pause the video until everyone is ready to continue, and then we will check our answers all together. Okay, so for the first one, we're going to look at our variables and say, what's happening between P and 4? They are being divided. So we have to do the opposite operation. The opposite of divide is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on this side. I'm going to multiply by 4 on this side. And over here, 4 and 4 cancel out. And so we're just left with the P variable equals. And then we have negative 8 times 4, which is negative 32. So that would be our answer for the first one. For the second one, we're going to say, all right, what's happening between our variable and whatever else is on the same side? We're going to say, because they're being added, I have to do the opposite operation and subtract. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. And over here, those cancel out. 8 minus 8 is just 0. So now we're going to be left with y equals, and negative 12 minus 8. Since they have the same sign, we are going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So it's going to be negative 20. All right, make sure that you have both of those down. If you need to pause the video for a second, go for it. Otherwise, we're going to move on to our notes for today. So today we're looking at formulas. And a formula is a rule that shows the relationship between 2 or more quantities. A formula is a rule that shows the relationship between 2 or more quantities. And then the question is, what are some formulas we've used so far this year? So some of the formulas we've used, we looked a lot in the last unit at things like volume equals length times width times height. We said the area of a square is equal, or the area of a rectangle is equal to just length times width. The circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. We've looked at so many different formulas this year, and we're going to look at how do we solve for certain variables. So what I mean by that is, what if I asked you, what is to find the value of r? What if I told you what c equals and asked you to find r? So if that's the case, what we're going to do is we're going to put a box around the variable you are solving for. Put a box around the variable you are solving for. And then follow the same steps for solving as with an equation. Just like we did on our bell ringer, we're going to do opposite operations and follow those same steps. A special note is that you should always start and end with the same number of variables. You should always start and end with the same number of variables. So for example, if I gave you the formula y equals 2x minus 4 and said solve this for x, what we're going to do is we're going to put a box around the variable we're being asked to solve for. They asked us to solve for x, so I'm going to put a box around that so I know what I'm trying to get by itself. So then I have 2 things happening. I have a times 2 and I have a minus 4. And the first thing that I'm going to do is always going to be the plus or the minus. So I'm going to go plus 4 plus 4. Now, this should look familiar because this is similar to problems we've done together in class. But what's going to be weird is that right here, I don't have another number over here. All I have is a y. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write this as y plus 4. I'm just going to leave it like that and not try to put 4y or anything like that. It's just taking the variable y plus 4. And that's going to equal 2x. I'm going to bring my box down with the x because I'm still trying to solve for x. And then 2 and x are being multiplied, so I'm going to do the opposite of multiply, and I'm going to divide by 2. And over here, it's not just the 4, it's not just the y, it's everything is divided by 2. So over here, those 2's cancel out, but then I'm going to write my final answer as x equals, which is good, that's what they asked me to solve for, y plus 4 over 2, or all divided by 2. And that's our final answer. And let me check. I started with a y, I started with an x, I'm ending with a y and with an x. So I know that I did something right. I should always start and end with the same number of variables. Okay, let's look at another one. Now we're being asked to solve for b. So I'm going to put a variable around, or a box, around the variable that I need to solve for. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I can either get rid of the -3 that's being multiplied by b, or get rid of what's being added. And I always get rid of adding and subtracting first. Even though this has a negative, these are being multiplied. So I need to come over here and go minus c. And over here, those should cancel each other out. And again, these are not the same variable, so I'm just going to write them right next to each other with this sign in the middle. So a minus c equals -3b. All right, so I'm still trying to solve for b. So now -3 is being multiplied by b, and so I'm going to divide everything on both sides by -3. Those cancel out on the right, and we're left with just b equals, and I'm going to write this exactly as it is, a minus c all over -3. And that would be it. All right, so I want you to try this problem and pause the video, and when you're done, come back together and we will go over it together. Okay, so the first thing that we should do is put a box around the variable we're solving for. We're solving for w, so I want a box around w. So then I've got a couple things happening. I've got 2 being multiplied by w, and I've got 2l being added to this. So I'm going to subtract 2l from both sides. Over here they cancel. And over here, these again are not the same variable, so I just write them next to each other. P minus 2L equals 2W. Keeping that box around the W. And now, 2 is being multiplied by W, so I'm going to divide by 2 on this side. And over here, I'm going to write everything divided by 2. So when I come down here to the next line, it's going to be W equals P minus 2L all over 2. If you did not get that when we pause the video, take a minute right now, fix your work, see if you can find where you made your mistake, talk to a partner if you need to, and figure out where you went wrong. Here's another you try. So I want you to try this problem. Again, pause the video, and when everybody's ready, come back together and we'll resume the video. Okay, so the variable they're asking us to solve for here is t. So we're going to put a box around t. And this one's tricky because t is in the denominator of our fraction. So I need to actually get it out of the denominator. I don't want to divide by d necessarily. I want to say, how do I get t out of the denominator? Well, if I multiply by t here, and I multiply by t over here what's going to happen is those are going to cancel, and now, even though t is still being multiplied by something, at least it's not in the denominator. So I can write this as tr equals d. And I still want to solve for t, so I'm going to divide both sides by r. And I get t equals d over r. I know that one was kind of tricky. It's a little bit weird when the variable's in the denominator, but that's the type of problem that you might see on like homework or a quiz. So take a second, make sure you've got that copied down. And for homework tonight, you've got page 509, numbers 1 through 9. I will be checking this tomorrow, so make sure you take your time. Do it well, and if you have questions, as always, send me a message or an email or something. And if we need to in class, we can go over some questions you have, but it should be completed when you come to class tomorrow. Have a great day, guys.